The power in asking for help. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar and thank you for investing your time in learning the importance and power in asking for help. My name is Phil Bajura and I'm honoured and feel very privileged to have gained significant business knowledge throughout my 30+ years in senior management within the corporate food industry, and in the last 14 years of being in business for myself. During that time, I've been responsible for implementing significant cultural change in many different and varied business environments, and I look forward to sharing some of this experience with you today. We have a lot to cover, so take as many notes as you need, and if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. If you haven't already, open your chat box now. When you have the opportunity to ask for help, do you hesitate to take it? If so, take a moment to ask yourself why. Is it because you don't want to be seen as weak or unable to complete a task? Is it because you're a perfectionist? Maybe it's because you feel shame. Whatever the reason, it likely has to do with fearing what happens when you let go of control. Today, my goal is to share with you that it's okay to let go of that control. In the end, you'll be happier for doing so. For many people, the idea of letting go of control is perceived as and equated to not being capable. This generalized belief is due to the culture that we live in, where we're socialized to believe that we must be independent and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. In reality, not only is it actually beneficial for us to reach out for help from others, but doing so can release us from this trap of a belief we have that we have to be okay and we have to be capable all the time. Repeat after me. It's okay not to be okay. So say that again. It's okay not to be okay. About the time we hit puberty and start gaining a bit more independence, we suddenly start thinking we know everything. We've got the hang of this life thing, and we get it. We don't need to ask for help. We don't need to ask for help anymore as a child would. This feeling tends to ebb and flow throughout adulthood, with people floating along from either end of the spectrum. For those of us who might identify as control freaks, perfectionists, or type A, the feeling of knowing everything might be a bit more prevalent. Another thing that makes asking for help even harder is the existence of the internet. Not so long ago, if you didn't have an answer to something, you'd find a reliable source to explain it to you, usually a real live person. Today, the internet has become our go-to for information and advice. While sometimes this option is empowering, at other times it's not beneficial at all. We can't always believe everything that we read. Asking for help can chip away at our pride, make us question our skills and expertise, and can even create really awful anxiety. But it doesn't have to make us appear weak. By asking for help, we create better results. Can you think of a time when you persevered too long on a task without achieving the result that you needed? Then asked someone for help and they provided the solution almost immediately? Think about the time factor and how much time you could have saved if only you had asked in the first place. Before we get into why asking for help creates better results, let's take a second to touch on what happens when we continue to try to do it all on our own. We like to believe that we don't have a breaking point, a time when the workload is too much, a task is too difficult, or we just mentally cannot handle it anymore. But we continue to do so. Not asking for help increases your frustration and stress levels, which makes you overwhelmed, indecisive, and slows your progress overall. At this point, not only is time wasted, but the stress you've been feeling has taken a toll on your physical and mental health. You're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you're drinking too much coffee, stress hormones are going crazy inside your body, and as a result, you're forced to come to a complete halt. The question is it worth it? If you're still worried that asking for help will make you seem weak, consider this. When you put your pride aside to ask for help, you're putting yourself first. You're demonstrating that it's in your best interest to have someone else come in and take some of the load off your back. Consider why powerful people have assistants. They know that they can't do everything on their own. In fact, they pride themselves in having a staff or team member to help them take care of the things that they aren't able to do. Be careful to avoid what I call the Superman syndrome. That is, no one can do it as good as I can do it, and you tend to try and do everything. Besides taking pressure off yourself, asking for help helps you gain perspective. Whether it's asking someone to help you with a project at work or asking a therapist to help you gain some insight, working with others in any capacity can help you broaden the way that you think. When you're stuck in a rut, it can be hard to break out of and see an obvious solution. When you ask for help, all of that changes. Here's an example that I love to share. A client goes into their therapist session saying that they're so depressed that they don't have the energy to wash the dishes. For weeks, they've been in a spiral of feeling guilty, ashamed, and more depressed every time they dirty a dish than don't have the ability to wash it. They can't seem to think of a solution to this problem. On hearing this, the therapist quite simply says, "Get some paper plates." The client had never even considered this solution because they were so worn down in their own cycle of shame, but this small change helped them focus their energy elsewhere, not at the dishes, and it got them out of their rut. Perhaps the most effective way I've found to prove that asking for help is positive is to show the practicality of it. Picture that you're sitting down to a list of tasks, all with a deadline. Let's say by the end of the day. You have 2 tasks that no one else can do except for you, and you have half a dozen other tasks that could be outsourced. These tasks could range from organising a spreadsheet in the office to cleaning a bathroom or even making dinner. When you ask for help, whether from a co-worker, a house cleaner, or a restaurant, you'll be able to get your important tasks done and still get everything else done in time. You won't keep anyone waiting, and you'll maintain your own sanity throughout the day. Here's a perspective that you may not have considered. Asking for help is a way to show people that you trust their ideas, feel competent in their skills, and appreciate their advice. By asking for help, you have the power to show people around that you value their talent and skills, which will help you build connections, community, and social currency. If you're unsure where to start, begin by asking for their ideas and opinions. One metaphor I like to use is that of the wax and flame. Every day you do things that can be considered your wax: taking out the trash, washing dishes, answering emails, making dinner, driving to work. All of these tasks are things that you have to do, but you don't necessarily enjoy. Hopefully, each day you're able to do some things that are in your flame, like giving a presentation, offering advice to others, taking your dog for a walk, or coordinating an event. Everyone has a different list of skills and tasks that make up their wax and flame. Let's take a workplace example. While one person might detest making spreadsheets, another might find it fun. When you ask for help, you're able to find people whose flame can replace your wax, which makes the whole project better. The desire to repay help appears to be hardwired in the human species, and this reciprocity is so powerful that you can generally assume that you'll be helped when you help others. Therefore, when you do ask for help, don't be surprised if and when that person comes back to you asking for help, especially in a work setting. The norm of reciprocity yields a psychological benefit for those reaching out. It's much easier to reconcile asking for help when you yourself have been helpful. So if you haven't already, build a reputation as someone who helps others, and others will want to help you. But remember this, the effects of this reputation are short-lived. You'll have to continually prove to those around you that you are willing to help on a regular basis. You can't rely on one good deed you did some time ago. When asking for help, it might make sense in your mind that you're trying to show that you value the other person's opinion or skill set. But you have to be sure that your words are conveying that as well. When asking for help, be humble and try to pay a compliment. For example, I know that you've got your own list of tasks today, but you're so much better at Excel than I am. Would you mind taking a look at this document when you get a chance and making sure that everything looks okay? Another important factor in asking for help is to know when you're asked or what you're asking for. Instead of saying, fix this for me, give the person the information they need. One way to do this is by framing your request in a SMART format. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Here's an example. While you're out, could you please pick up my jacket from the dry cleaners by 3 p.m? It's at Enviro Cleaners on 15 Maple Street. I'm stuck in a meeting right now and I'm not sure I'll be able to make it before they close. So framing what you're asking for in such a way then helps prevent confusion. Sometimes we get stuck in a mindset that a task is so impossible that if we can't solve it, no one can. When you find yourself thinking this way, begin asking questions. You might not know that your co-worker who works as a data analyst actually has a degree in marketing. You might not realize that your friend also lives with the same mental disorder you do and can offer support. When you begin asking for help, you don't know where that road will lead. Even if someone can't help you directly, they could point you in the right direction. So it's important not to do a mind read. And by a mind read, what I mean there is that you think you know what the other person is thinking or what they know. As humans, we're social beings who crave a sense of community. The basis of an effective community involves teamwork and people helping one another out. So whether it's in your workplace or your social circle, encourage a culture where asking for help isn't looked down upon and it's encouraged. Begin offering assistance and openly ask for help when you need it. We're beginning to reach the tail end of our time together, and I want to go over a few key points. Perhaps most importantly, remember that no one can do everything on their own. While there may be some figureheads or cultural icons we look up to who are seemingly self-reliant, there's usually a team of people behind the scenes helping them along the way. Ask yourself, if you do not actively want to learn from others, are you really growing as a person? If you're not getting to know the skills and talents of those around you, how well connected are you really? Remember that when you don't ask for help, you're missing out on one or more than social connections and team building. You're putting more on your plate than you can handle, which can result in A, lost time, B, lack of productivity, C, do-overs or rework, D, mistakes, and E, could be failures. So it's important that you to identify what is the end result of not asking for help in the first place. The root of asking for help is built around the fact that having a support system that you can count on is extremely beneficial for your mental state and therefore your overall state of being. How would your life be different if you had a mutual sense of reciprocity with those around you? If you could call someone and ask for a favour, walk up to a co-worker and get the advice you need, or feel vulnerable enough with someone to share your fears, would the consequences really be that bad? So some of the reference that we used to make this event today is why asking for help makes you stronger. And that can be found on the Forbes.com website. How to get better at asking for help is the hbr.org website, 5 ways to get better at asking for help. The next reference was Get What You Want Faster, which is a blog by IQ Matrix. And then Asking for Help When You're Depressed can be found on the website Everyday Health. So if you are serious about learning how to ask for help and to delegate more effectively, please email me requesting a complimentary business review meeting. Please reach out if you have any questions or concerns. I'm here to help. So my email address is philbajura@actioncoach.com. If you have any questions at all, please write them into the chat box now. We do have a little bit of time for some Q&A. And I'm happy that you've decided to join me today for this special event. And I hope that you all got something out of it. So please take a moment to share what your #1 takeaways was from our time together in the chat box, and feel free to share any questions as well. So I'll give you a moment or two just to type in any questions. I don't see anything coming up at this point. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for your time today. I will send you a copy of the webinar for some of those that did come on a little bit after we started. Okay, so the strength to continue asking for help and that it's okay. Absolutely. So it is important that we don't feel embarrassed in asking for help, and because there may be somebody that can actually help you in ways that you've never considered before. So, all right, there's no other questions. So thank you for your time again. And please feel free to reach out. Bye now.